Hi there, it's Kevin with roguedeckbuilder.com, just here with a quick user-submitted deck. I think this might be a weekly video series that I'm going to try to do. If you're interested in sending me a deck list, the best way to do it is through email. My email address is roguedeckbuilder@gmail.com. You can also do it through Twitter or Facebook or even Reddit, or I've had deck lists sent to me even on Puka Trade. There's lots of ways to contact me, but the best way is through email. So this one is by a Facebook user, Rolf. He sent me an updated list with Cryptolith Rite off of my token Lava Storm deck that I made a little while back. And I made a few changes to Rolf's deck. Most of it is the same little shell here, but it's trying to use Cryptolith Rite with Young Pyromancer and Akroan Crusader. And then we have the instances that we can cast targeting either the Akroan Crusader or Young Pyromancer will just trigger off of any instant or sorcery being cast. That the Expedite and the Crimson Wisps are nice little cantrip cards. And then Crowd's Favor and Mutagenic Growth are basically free spells, because Mutagenic Growth just costs 2 life, and the Crowd's Favor costs tapping a creature. So those are the ones I'm going to use for this. We're going to use Faithless Looting just to fix our hand. Since we have only 18 lands, we do need to hit land drops on time, and we really need to dig for our Cryptolith Rite. So then we have the card draw engine, which is going to be Beck. Beck says whenever a creature enters the battlefield this turn, you may draw a card. And then we have Forbidden Orchard as one of our lands that actually, whenever it taps for mana, it puts a 1/1 color spirit token. So since I'm using Forbidden Orchard, I thought I'd throw in a 1 of Fatestitcher, just because, I mean, Fatestitcher can actually get you out of some tricky situations. We also have the Jeskai Ascendancy. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end turn, untap those creatures. I thought I'd try a 1 of in the build. I'm not quite sure it's going to work out, but why not? Burn of the Stake is going to be either an alternate win condition by being able to put out enough creatures to then just tap and do enough damage. I'm still wanting to build just like a Burn at the Stake, full out, like Burn at the Stake with the mana ramp, or through Young Pyromancer and possibly a Akroan Crusader Monastery Mentor. I always thought that would be, or even Empty the Warrens. It's just, I'm not sure. Usually when we try to go this route, I always find that just the traditional Storm is more consistent. But I always thought this would be a fun little card to, when my YouTube channel was brand new, Burn at the Stake was the card that really catapulted the YouTube channel into popularity. I built an epic experiment, Burn at the Stake. So ever since then, I've always had a kind of affinity for this card. So anywho, we'll go on to the other. How do we give our cards haste is through Mass Hysteria. There's also Burst of Speed, which is an instant or I think it's a sorcery. Burst at Speed, but Burst of Speed is only a one-time use, and it doesn't see creatures that are created after it resolves. Mass Hysteria just gives all creatures haste. This also gives your opponent's creatures haste, so be very careful using this card. I think that after you've established some good creatures here through the Akroan Crusader, Young Pyromancer, and you have a Cryptolith Rite out, that's when you chuck the Mass Hysteria down, and then everything gets haste and you can go off. 2 of Battle Hymn just to help with the mana. You don't want to see too many of these because 1 is going to be enough when you're ready to go off. And then a 2 of Simian Spirit Guide just to help accelerate the deck. Yes, this might seem a little bit hypocritical, knowing that I hate Simian Spirit Guide. It's probably my most hated card in Modern. I think the card is just busted beyond busted and just has some very uninteractive things. This is a very uninteractive deck, but I know it's one of those things that I think that if a deck gets out of control, that's when with being able to go off on like turn 2 or turn 3 or just doesn't really interact with your opponent, that's when it should get the ban list. But again, don't hate the player, hate the game. So if Wizards is going to allow these type of strategies, I'm of course going to use them. And even though I hate this card, does not mean that I'm not going to put it in a deck that it works out perfectly with. People, after my Modern top 3 cards I want banned in Modern Night, suggested that Simian Spirit Guide get banned. People called me a hypocrite because I use it in Kiln Fiend. I use it in other, I guess, very popular classic rogue deck builder decks. And again, I'm just gonna say it again. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I'm gonna use it as long as it's not banned. All right, so let's go on to these. This isn't really a sideboard. This is just a maybe board. These are cards that either Rolf had in his main board or I thought about using. The first one is going to be the Commune with the Gods. Commune with the Gods, I think that Cryptolith Rite and Mass Hysteria are pivotal pieces. It also works very good with Fatestitcher. But so if I were going to run like a Fatestitcher Jeskai Ascendancy route, you'd probably want 4 of Commune with the Gods just to dig for them. Then we have this Cerulean Wisps. This one is, I ended up cutting it just because I thought the Mutagenic Growth would be better than Cerulean Wisps. This untaps a creature and draws a card, so it has like synergy with the Cryptolith Rite. So basically you target an Akroan Crusader, it puts out a 1/1, you tap it for mana with the Cryptolith Rite, and you untap the creature. So you tap Akroan Crusader for a mana for Cerulean Wisps. So blue, you cast it to target the Akroan Crusader. It untaps it and puts out a 1/1. So you're back up, you're net up mana and net up a creature. So that's... I still think that just giving haste is more important and free spells are more important than the Cerulean Wisp, because Cerulean Wisp is really banking on the fact that you have the Cryptolith Rite. Right now we can actually win without the Cryptolith Rite. You can actually just create a ton of tokens in one turn and swing in. Another card he had in his deck was 2 Arms. This, again, is untapping all creatures and drawing a card, so it's kind of like the Cryptolith Rite. I think that Cerulean Wisp is more powerful than the 2 Arms, but I can definitely see that if you have a ton of tokens that are tapped for mana, this is your way. This is like another little battle hymn. You untap all your creatures, and then they can tap for mana again. Mirrorweave, I just thought was a little too cute in the deck. Mirrorweave is turning all of your tokens into Young Pyromancers, but I think if you already have your Young Pyromancers established and enough mana to cast Mirrorweave, you're pretty much going to go off. Past in Flames I thought about using in like the heavy Fatestitcher and Jeskai Ascendancy build, as this would be a way to, if you had to discard your like win condition, like your Burn at the Stake or any of these cards, you can just recast. You can recast a Battle Hymn. But I think Past in Flames, if you're going to run this card, you would run a completely different shell. And yeah, so in this version I don't like it. Epic Experiment's another one that Rolf used in his deck. This is pretty much once you have Cryptolith Rite out, you can then cast a huge Epic Experiment and hit all of these instances or sorceries. I particularly didn't like it because it doesn't hit it hits like the Beck call, but at that point I think you've already used a Beck call, and it doesn't hit like Cryptolith or Mass Hysteria. I think if you're going Epic Experiment, that's when you probably want to go Past in Flames and Burst of Speed rather than the... I think the route needs to be changed up. Same with Reforge the Soul. I actually like Reforge the Soul a little bit better than Epic Experiment because you're only going to be using Reforge the Soul when you're out of cards. So you've used all... This is another huge card draw. You've ramped up some mana. You've cast everything in your hand. There's nothing left but like unused lands in your hand. And then you Reforge the Soul. And then you are able to get 7 more cards and hopefully go off from them. I like it. I prefer it. Reforge over these two. Then there's also Commune with Lava that works kind of the same way, except you can do it like at your opponent's end phase if you have plenty of tokens of Cryptolith Rite, but you don't quite have enough to go off, or you need to draw into those cards. On your opponent's turn, you just use a Commune with Lava at the end of their turn for like 4 or 5, and then that gives you an extra 4 or 5 cards to work with on your turn. Then there's Empty the Warrens. Empty the Warrens, I think, is very interesting in this deck because if you've stormed off a few amount, it has lots of synergy with Beck, has lots of synergy with Cryptolith Rite, and then it even triggers Young Pyromancer, but it doesn't work with the Akroan Crusader. I think that if you're going to go Empty the Warrens, I'd cut Akroan Crusader and then go more of the ritual type cards, like the Pyretic Ritual, and then just be trying to ramp up into a huge Empty the Warrens and a Cryptolith Rite, and then that'll get you where you need to go. And then you need some sort of draw. So that draw would be like Reforge the Soul. I think there's a lot of merit for that build as well. Again, this is so open to interpretation. I'd really, really like for the community to brew around this deck and see what they can do. Then there is Pyromancer's Ascension, because Pyromancer's Ascension works very well with decks that are using a lot of 4 of instances. So 4 of, 4 of, 4 of, 4 of. You could go back up to 4 of, 4 of. And you could go back into Burst of Speed rather than Mass Hysteria or something. And then Pyromancer's Ascension just lets you get so much value. What I like about these cards with the Akroan Crusaders are also draw cards. So if you had a Pyromancer's Ascension out, it'd actually be put 2 tokens out and draw 2 cards off of like an Expedite if you have the Pyromancer's Ascension online. Haze of Rage was my win condition. You can use Haze of Rage. You can use the Goblin Bushwhacker. You can use the Reckless Bushwhacker. I kind of like Goblin Bushwhacker and Reckless Bushwhacker because they give the haste and Haze of Rage doesn't. But Haze of Rage with Mass Hysteria, if you have everything haste, if you just cast this, even if you've just created like 4 or 5 tokens, that's lethal. Because you've cast 4 spells before this, they're all going to get +5, +0, and that's 20 damage swinging in just from the tokens. So I don't know if it wants to be a one of over maybe Burn at this. I think Burn at the Stake's just a little more consistent. Then Harness the Storm, which is a new card out of Shadows of Innistrad. Whenever you're casting a sorcery spell from your hand, you may cast target with the same name. So same thing, like you have a bunch of Expedites and Crowd's Favors and whatnot in the graveyard. You cast it again. It's just a free spell. It is 3 mana for the Harness the Storm. It is an enchantment though, so if you go the Commune with the Gods route, you can find cards like the Pyromancer Ascension and Harness the Storm. Then there is Manamorphose that just helps fix your mana. I thought that since we're into 4 colors, it might be a smart idea to run Manamorphose. It replaces itself immediately. The Young Pyromancer triggers off of this. I think that Manamorphose is something we'd want like Fatestitcher or Young Pyromancer and Monastery Mentor strategy rather than Akroan Crusader. And same with Gitaxian Probe. I think Gitaxian Probe works off of that sort of list better. So that's just my idea for the deck. I think I'm going to play a few games with it to see how well it goes. I'm actually thinking before we play this that we open it up to the community and see what lists you can build. I'm not going to do any sort of contest. This is just going to be an open-ended, your suggestions. Hopefully we can get this. I'm still looking to revive the Rogue Master Brewer. I really want to start that format, the planar format, to see if I can get any sort of interest in it. Planar format, if you don't know, I've talked about this on my channel before, is just using cards from a particular plane. So right now that we're on the Innistrad plane, only cards from the Innistrad plane would be legal. This allows us to look at a lot of cards like Mayor of Averbrook and Huntmaster of the Fells and Olivia Voldaren, which I think would work out so well with the new Shadows of Innistrad cards. These are cards that are just not quite good enough for Modern, but were really, really fun during Innistrad. I hate it when Magic cards go to, like right now, Magic cards that are playable are in Commander, in Modern, Legacy, and Standard. If they do not see play in any of those formats, they kind of just go die in a hole somewhere. And there's some really, really fun cards in the history of Magic the Gathering that synergize quite well with these newer sets. Like this is a huge tribal set, so we're looking at a lot of vampires and zombies and werewolves and humans that are just not quite powerful for the Modern format, but I still think that have some sort of I really just want to play them again. It's kind of an interest of my own for this planar type format. So I'm going to try to detail that out in a post on roguedeckbuilder.com and see if we can get some players that are willing to play in like a tournament, and then we'll host one on MTGO and see how well it goes, see what kind of decks people can come up with. I like this. Like the problem with Modern is the power creep of Modern. Modern is going to continue to become more powerful and more powerful as more sets come out. And I think it's actually going to narrow the amount of decks that are playable rather than widen, or it widens the same type of archetypes, but they're still very similar decks. So maybe you can build like each one of the Mardu or Grixis or Esper, but they're basically all the same deck trying to do the same thing. And same thing with like the combo based decks, or the same deck trying to do the same thing. And we're going to see less and less of variety and more just kind of the very similar strategies. So I'm thinking that Extended was a big bust. No one likes Extended because unfortunately, like cards like Siege Runner, when they get stuck in a format, they dominate not only Standard but Extended for quite a while. And that was the problem with Extended. No one really cared to play it. I think that it was mismanaged by Wizards of the Coast. I think that there just wasn't enough interest, even by them, the organizers, to keep Extended alive. But I think instead of Extended, Planar is a way to revive old cards and have interest in doing so. So let me know what you think in the comment section below about the Planar format. Again, I'm going to try to get some time together to make a detailed post on roguedeckbuilder.com. I am now pretty much committed to the YouTube channel and committed to roguedeckbuilder.com, so we're going to see some cool things coming up in the future. I'm actually looking for some help. We need some people. I'm really looking for a social media coordinator, or just someone that can actually edit posts on Rogue Deck Builder. Right now, Rogue Deck Builder is just 2 people. Well, it's beyond a little bit more than 2 people, but right now it's just myself and Greg. Greg is our website basically administrator. He helps me out with graphics and just the overall health of the site. And he has done, like, he does the tokenmancy. He's done some tokens for Rogue Deck Builder and some playmat art for Rogue Deck Builder. Just he between me and him, and then my local game store being Gone Rogue Games, I have a Zach that does a lot of help with the Rogue Deck Builder brand as well. But beyond that, that's just us three that are really the quote unquote brand. I have a few authors here and there, and I've had people be editors in the past, but a lot of them have just kind of moved on to other things. And so if you're interested in writing for roguedeckbuilder.com or brewing for roguedeckbuilder.com or making videos or just helping out, like, what we need is a social media coordinator. Just basically what that is editing my garble into and then posting it on other sites to try to recruit more people into the Rogue Deck Builder community. And I've had some people in the past to have that role, but again, they've just all kind of moved on to other things. So let me know if you're interested. Just email me at roguedeckbuilder.com. And there's a lot of other ideas that I'm trying to work on. I'm going to try to start collaborating with other community members. I've talked with Travis Wu in the past. I've talked with Saffron Olive from MTGO or MTGGoldfish.com. I still want to get, I know that Morton's been busy working on his degree. Morton is actually a huge part of Rogue Deck Builder, so shout out to Morton. He's kind of like what I consider my internet BFF. So it's someone I met through the Rogue Deck Builder channel, and then we've just always bounced ideas off each other and chatted and whatnot. So I'm looking to find more Mortons. That'd be awesome. And again, this was a great experience. Shout out to Rolf for, hope I'm even pronouncing your name right this entire time. I'm terrible with pronunciation. That's what happens when you grow up in rural Utah. With people that are educated the best. So anywho, where was I going with this? Now I'm just definitely rambling. But so what I'm trying to say is I really want to expand the Rogue Deck Builder brand and Tutor's Library. There's another person I definitely want to reach back out to. I know that he just had a son lately, and has been busy being a father. So congratulations to him. But if you haven't checked out Tutor's Library's channel, he is a phenomenal brewer. And I'm not sugarcoating that. You think I'm a good brewer? Tutor's Library. There is I'm good with ideas. He's good with actually refining those ideas into competitive decks. So I'd love to work with Tutor's Library again. I'd love to work with all these other members in the past that have worked with Rogue Deck Builder. I'm going to reach out to Morton. Maybe we'll do some decks that he's been working on. I know he's got a Pauper deck that's been doing very well in the Pauper format. Anyway, enough of my ramble. This has been Kevin with roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.